What's going on? This is Tori Kravitz, and welcome back to another new episode of She's the Band. First and foremost, I hope you all listening are doing well, having a great day, listening to good music, all the things. So this week's episode is going to be a little bit of a different format than I've done before, but I'm really excited about this because there's been a bit of a dilemma on my end where I'm always trying to support and love and shout out as many artists as I possibly can on She's the Band, which is why I've been doing those bands you need to know reels on Instagram and just generally like posting about new artists. And I get a lot of emails from up and comers who really want to be on the podcast, but being bi-weekly means I can't accommodate everybody all the time. And so I was like, you know what? We're just going to get 4 bands at once on an episode. What could go wrong? So this is what I'm calling the like up and comer buzz band, whatever you want to call it, roundtable of 4 artists that have seriously caught my attention at the moment that I think are really incredible, deserve all the love and praise and attention that I could possibly throw at them. And they've also been really keen to come on the podcast. And I thought this could be a really great idea, not only so that I can have more bands at a time on the podcast, but also because as much as these may be different artists with different music, we have the common ground of that a lot of them are doing things DIY themselves. A lot of them are really starting to gain some traction, but are still kind of in the up and comer category. And there's kind of just that like hustle and passion that these newer artists have that maybe some of the bigger or like legacy acts wouldn't necessarily understand. And so there's definitely that common ground that I think there's going to be a lot of interesting ideas and just conversations that I'm looking forward to. So without further ado, the guests that are joining us today are Daedric, we have Vexed, we have Frayle, and Lexi Layne. Lexi Layne, I actually worked with on a whole PR campaign with her because I loved the music so much. So we did like a PR campaign for her, one of her music videos last year, I believe now. Time's fake, time's an illusion, but I think it was last year. Frayle is so up my alley as being more of like a doom metal band. I absolutely love how moody and witchy and amazing their music is. Then we have Daedric, who actually hit me up on Instagram, and I was like, oh, okay, another Instagram DM, let's look at it. And then I went on her profile and was floored, like floored. And I see a lot of artists on my Instagram every single day, and I just couldn't believe the voice on her and the music videos were all so beautiful and incredible. And then we have Vexed, who are no strangers to Knawfest and Pulse of the Maggots, another band that I just think, I mean, so incredible. So all together, that's our lineup for today. I think it's going to be a good one. So first and foremost, if any of these names are unfamiliar to you and you haven't listened to them, please go listen to them. We're going to get to learn a lot more about them on this episode, and I'm really glad to be in such good company. So without further ado, let's get this episode going. All right, and now we are joined by 4 absolute metal powerhouses. We've got Frayle, we've got Lexi Layne, we've got Daedric, and we've got Vexed joining She's the Band right now. How are you all doing? Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate the gratitude. There's a lot of gratitude today. But how are you all doing? Are you Frayle, you're on tour right now. Is anyone else on tour? Or are you all coming from home? Where are we all at the moment?
I'm at home.
I'm at home too, girl.
Yeah, we're not on tour. We just have a couple of shows that are local-ish. So yeah,
okay,
I'm just at home at the moment as well. So yeah.
So I've caught everyone at a good time. We're all comfy. No one's coming to me live from the van with like weird reception. So that's already a great start. Cool. Well, I suppose first and foremost, this is a roundtable of artists where, I mean, all of you have amazing fan bases already. You're doing great things. And I know that at the same time, there may be some people listening to this who you're new to them. So I thought the best way to start this off would just maybe one by one, almost like we're back in grade school style, like introduce yourself and just tell us, I would love to hear just what you find in your career as of now to be the most like defining, shining moment that you've had thus far. Leading up to now.
Well, hello. Yes, I'm Lexi Layne. I just dropped a new single this past Friday called Serpent and a music video, and it's really just about like, shedding old toxic skin and really coming into that full power of being a powerful woman and shining a new light and hopefully shining a light on others, especially like little girls and girls that look up to, you know, women in this business and in the metal community. I think it's such a new highlight in life right now, and I think it's going to go really far. So yeah, as Tori, you said, I did get over a really big fear. Snakes were always my biggest fear. And I was like, fuck it. We're gonna, oh, can I curse on here?
Yeah. Oh, this is not fest. We can do whatever we want.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. But anyway, so I was like, fuck it. I'm going to hold a fucking snake and I'm going to put it in my music video and it's going to be great. And getting over my fear was the best, most exhilarating feeling I've ever experienced in my entire life. And yeah, so that's been my biggest highlight so far for sure.
Yeah, and congratulations on the release and the snake.
Thank you. And the
snake. Who's next?
I went completely mind blank. It was like there could have been tumbleweed going across my brain. So I'm so sorry.
But I feel like that happens, right? Like if somebody asks, "Oh, who's your favorite band at the moment?" and suddenly you've been listening to so much music and all of it just leaves your brain as soon as someone decides to ask about it, right? So I get that.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I mean, there's been quite a few defining moments, really. We've just released our second album. My band is Vexed, by the way, in case nobody knows, and it's actually something we're really proud of, which sounds a bit lame, but like I know that sometimes you release stuff and you think, I could have done it better, or I'm not actually that keen on it, or your heart isn't fully in it. But with this album, we're all like 100% just in love with it, and I think that is something to be really proud of, because, you know, as musicians, we're our own biggest critics, and I don't think you can ever get to a place where you're like, I absolutely love every inch of this song and I think I did everything perfectly. But we released this album and we're so happy with it, and that was a real first for us. So yeah, Negative Energy if you like really shouty, loud, dark music.
Which I think the general crowd here, that's all what we're here for. Something
Yes.
dark and angsty and loud.
Yeah.
But that's really impressive though, because I mean, I think this goes even just beyond musicians, anyone who's in any creative field. It's like there's always something you could do better, and how do you know when to stop? So congratulations on having a release where you're like, we've done it now. Was there like a moment where you knew, like, was there like maybe a song you listened to or a pinnacle moment where you were like, wow, we've really done it now?
I think when we were writing our song Anti-Fetish, which is about how us lot get fetishized over everything else. Our talent isn't taken into consideration, it's just our looks. And when we wrote that song and the boys in the band were like 100% behind it and were like, you can be meaner, you can be nastier, just say what you want to say. And I was like, okay, I'm going to curse and I'm going to be a real bitch about this and own it.
I absolutely loved the music video for that too. Holy cow.
So yeah, that was great. Just finding sort of the courage to be like, to stand up for women, you know, sometimes that's actually really hard to do.
Yeah, no, thank you for that song. I like, that's definitely a reoccurring topic on the podcast. And even, you know, there was an artist I was speaking to recently, which it will come out later on Not Fest, where we were going through like her makeup and stuff. And there was this moment where I was like, the makeup is cool. We all love makeup, maybe. I don't know, not everyone, but it was something that was exciting to me. But then I thought of the bigger picture of, there's so much more to her that I don't want the perception of that interview to be that that's all she has to her. Even though it's something I'm excited about, I was very mindful of, let's expand the conversation of not just makeup, because there's a lot more to all of us that
of course,
especially in a lot of media, doesn't necessarily get explored. So that's even part of why I brought you all here today, so we can just dive into it all.
Yeah, it's really cool. Excited.
Well, all right, we got Daedric, we got Frayle left. Who's up?
I think for me, and it's kind of interesting because it's mirrored in what the two previous ladies have mentioned, is that we just recently played Incarceration Fest, and I had a signing afterwards, and this woman stopped me on the way and she was like, you know, I just want to thank you very much for everything that you've done for women. And, you know, just listening to everybody speak here, I think it's really interesting and important to note that as women, we feel like we have to carry the torch for other women, and we feel like we have to empower. And it's amazing that we do that, and it's amazing that it's natural for us to do that. So I just think that to me was a defining moment, and it made me really want to step on the gas as far as doing more of that and really making that a highlight going forward.
I think this is an interesting common denominator. Wow, words. Between all of us, as well as there's always that, I don't know, I would say almost like a tug of war of, do we showcase the fact that we're women and be really loud about it? Or is it more so that stance of, we're women, but we don't want to be like separated from the bunch. We're just a part of the metal scene like everyone else. So I think that's really cool, Gwen, that you're saying like, let's stand out and be loud about it and like speak up for women. And I see that in all of you. But do you think there's sometimes a place where it's better to just like, I don't know how to put it, but just
No.
try to do our best to be as equal as possible? Or I don't know, what's the stance? Like it's confusing sometimes of the right path, and everyone has a different answer.
Yeah, and it is. And it's funny, like, I don't know, there was like an article about us or something, and I was wearing a dress that was from here. There's absolutely zero skin showing. And their comments were like, why do women have to dress up like whores or dominatrixes? I'm like, my dress is literally up to my chin. So I do think that it's important that, we push forward on this, because we think that women's liberation, it sounds even antiquated to say that, but unfortunately we're not as far ahead as we think we are. So, and of course, with not having rights over our own bodies, and yeah, I think we need to fucking push it as much as we can.
Fascinating as well that you're wearing literally a turtleneck dress and you still can't win. It's like, we could dress as provocatively as we want or as conservatively as we want, and no matter what, we just can't win.
Yeah,
and I'm laughing out of pain, out of frustration, to be honest with you. And Lexi, you look like you had something to say about this too.
No, I honestly, it's a really great feeling being in like a group right now with like so many powerful women, and hearing that like my opinion is also your guys' opinion as well. Like it's like that fine line of being like sexualized but not being sexualized, but like you, of course, you want to be loud and stand up for who you are. We're women, like we have babies, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're powerful people, and I don't think we should ever dim our light, ever. Fuck that. Like I think like society needs to catch up mentally with the strong women, especially in the metal community. And I think over time, like I said previously, I think over time it will be more and more respected. And I think the louder we are, the more respect we will gain in the future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And yeah, all right. So we have last but most certainly not least, Kristen, hit us.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this subject real quick because it's so powerful to me, and something that's I've always struggled with, that idea of separating, our femininity and then trying to be equal in the metal community. And I think for me, it's I think our personas and our identities of being female are very, very important. And the only thing that really grinds my gears is when someone comments, oh, I don't usually like female vocals, or I don't prefer female vocals. That's the thing that makes me so angry. I'm like, it's not about our gender that makes the music good. It's the music is good and we just happen to be female, but our identities of being female are also very powerful. So it's like this very complex thing for me, where I get really angry when somene's like, I don't like female vocals. And I'm just like, why are you going to
So stupid. The boys in my band, whenever they see comments they're like that, they always reply for me, and they're just like, oh, so you're sexist. That's literally it.
That's all. Let the boys attack it for you.
But that's a great thing, right? Is when you call it out for what it is, suddenly it's no, of course not, because it's they don't want to be labeled that, but that is what it is, isn't it?
It's so true.
Yeah.
Sorry to I just kind of veered off, but
No,
I guess the one thing that's been really impactful for me is I just released my first album ever. I've never released an album, and it was so funny when we were premiering the final music video for it. I was like crying, and I was about to go live, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm crying. And then I went live, and I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I'm emotional. I've never done this. And it was just like this huge climactic moment for me. And just connecting with the people that I feel like I've built with the community, and you know, connecting with other people that are nerdy gamers and metalheads and, you know, loving the dark music. Like it's been so cool to me. And I love when people reach out and they're like, hey, like I've been going through depression and your music helped. Like those are the things that really hit me and make me so proud to be part of this.
Huge. It's huge. And yeah, I also want to touch on the female vocal thing because I find that just wild. And do you guys find that there's still a shock factor around the fact that women can have such a powerful voice in metal? Like, for example, you know, Megan and Kristen, you both scream so incredibly, and like those screams are so powerful, and like there's still that sense of underestimating what we're all capable of. So what is kind of your response to that as well?
Do you want to take it first? Go on.
Yeah,
Whoever's feeling spicy.
I'm feeling very spicy about this because there's like it's two-sided, because obviously I'm like excited about the shock factors. I'm like, ooh, gotcha. But then on the other side, I'm like, why are you so surprised? There have been female metal screamers for a long time now. This is not that new. It's just for some people, it's like they just can't accept it, or they'll always write it off as like, oh, it's the effects. Take off the effects and we'll see what you sound like. Can you even do that live? Like so many like hate comments and negative comments to bring you down and say it's not possible. Or the other thing that really makes me mad is when they try to pit you against another female metal screamer and saying, oh, Ginger does it better or Spirit Box does it better. I'm like, why are you trying to pit me against someone? Like, I don't see that on male vocalist commentaries. Like, I don't see people saying, oh, you know, Marcus does it better than you. Like, nobody does that in the male side of things. And it just makes me mad that they do it for the females. And I'm like, I want to be part of this community. We're all friends here. I'm not trying to make a competition. We can all make music and it can all be awesome.
Yeah. And Gwen, how has it been from like the doom metal perspective? Because that's even a genre that I think still like we're wanting more and more women involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of interesting. You know, I remember one of the first pieces of advice I get from a label we were working with was, don't wear anything crazy, don't, you know, and so I'm like, well, that's not who I am. You know, I kind of want to push the envelope, you know, with that. So I think in doom, it's, you know, it's the same as everywhere, but doom is like a lot of t-shirt and jeans wearing guys, and to see someone, you know, like me, or you know, now more and more people coming along and kind of pushing the envelope as far as what you can expect, and in my mind it elevates it a little bit and kind of takes it to a new and different level of yes, women are singing doom, and no, it's not all just stoner rock, and there's some, you know, big things that we're kind of dealing with here, and you know, my songs are very autobiographical, so I deal with like a lot of feelings and deep heavy stuff, and so I think, you know, that's new as opposed to like writing about wizards and, you know, anything that we can do to push it forward, whether it be as like female centric or just pushing it forward, period. I think that's a responsibility that you know, that you can choose to take or not take, but I think once you do accept that responsibility, it's kind of interesting and puts a whole different light on everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting too what you've just said about the past iterations of the genre. And I think that's why I fell in love with Frayle as well, is because, you know, there's a very small pool of women who are doing doom really, really well right now. And then you came along and I see like the face pieces, the jewelry that you're wearing on stage and those outfits. And I was like, this is for me. I love this. And it's like, finally, I don't feel like I have to go to a show with like a bunch of bearded men in t-shirts and jeans, and like I can actually dress up, and it feels feminine and beautiful, but also heavy and dark and all of the things you love in metal. So thank you for that.
Love it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And another thing that I really realized is a common thread between all of you that I wanted to touch on is how much the music industry has changed over recent years, with social media being what it is, and the DIY ethics coming more into play. And all of you to some degree are doing that, you know, like when you're doing the autographs and the handwritten lyrics, and, you know, Kristen and Lexi, you do such great Instagram videos, and Vexed, you're so also on social media and doing a great job with all of that too. And artists are just more involved than ever, with less need for so many hands on deck all the time. So have there been any practices that you've found to be really helpful and really successful in growing your presence and building a name as up and comers?
I mean, I think I'm probably got the smallest following here. So for me, I'm still like very much early days with it. But for me, I think it's just really like taking the time to talk to your fans. And like obviously there is a line, like I've had to close my DMs because there's a lot of foot picture requests and heavy breathers. But when you actually get like proper messages from people that genuinely want to talk about the music and like, you know, it's helped them in some way, taking the time to sort of listen and reply and say thank you and start a conversation with these people, because they're genuinely the people that are going to make your life better, you know. And I think sort of actually having an interest in your fan base is it's so obvious. You can tell when like people have a social media presence, maybe it's huge, but they don't give a shit about anyone who's following them. They just have rock star syndrome and they don't give a shit. Whereas, I mean, I've only got like 3,500 followers, but like every single one of them who takes the time to like message me or like a post or anything on Instagram, I could cry about it. Like I get so emotional when people are like, your music has really helped me. I'm just like, you have no idea. So yeah, I think it's just like humanizing yourself instead of trying to always be this perfect filter picturesque thing, which I think our band pages can be that, because that's our art form. That's, you know, where we're trying to be, I don't know, some sort of like professional look or artistry. But like on my own page especially, I'll post regular stories where I have no makeup on and my hair looks like crap and I'm sweaty because I've been working on the farm all day, just to remind people that like I'm a human being, I'm normal. You know, I'm not like 100% my best version of myself every single day. So yeah, I think for me anyway, I found that just humanizing yourself and actually connecting with people really helps, and it just creates a more authentic following as well.
Yeah, no one's too cool for it. And if you are too cool
Exactly.
for it, you're not cool at all.
Yeah.
Basically. Also, before we move on to the next answers, Megan, your audio was like kind of up and down. I don't know if it was happening for anybody else, but it might be hair. I don't know. AirPods.
It might be. I'll try and do this. Okay.
Thanks. All right. Well, whoever wants to chime in next, go for it.
I was just gonna be. Oh, so sorry.
No.
I just wanted to piggyback that really quick. I agree 100%. I really think it's quality versus quantity. And I think that's what people want, is they want to feel that connection with, you know, the music they're listening to the people that are actually producing it or singing it. You know, anybody can put on a song and be like, oh, this is good, and I vibe with it. But like when you feel something and you resonate with it, and then you can actually be like, hey, your song saved my life. And like, I feel like us as musicians, that is the best feeling ever. Like knowing that we saved someone's life, you know, like anybody can post a bunch of TikToks and, you know, random Instagram videos. And yes, that is really important. And for me personally, I've realized that's how my following has gone up. But at the end of the day, you're right. Like we are human, we are people. You know, we wake up with bad breath and our hair looks like shit in the morning. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think people seeing that like professional side, but also seeing like, oh, cool, they're just like me and I resonate with them. Like that is where that special connection, I really think, like comes together.
Fully. And I mean, Lexi, that was one thing that really drew me to you right away, was like when you were posting things about spirituality or, you know, motivational, inspirational things that really resonated with you, that also resonated with me. I was like, great, I love her music, and she's posting really interesting stuff that I care about, that like makes it feel more human. Like it's something I can resonate with. So fully. Thanks for that. Kristen, you had something?
I mean, I'm literally just agreeing with all of you. I think there's something about humbling yourself and remaining there and being human and always responding to people who have reached out to you as best as you can. Obviously, once you get to a certain number of people, sometimes it gets overwhelming. But if you just continue to try and just don't give up on staying humble, I think it's so important. I've met so many and I've heard about so many, especially vocalists, who get that rock star syndrome, like you mentioned. And it's just so off-putting. And you're like, I wish I never met you. I wish like I had just thought of you as this distant artist, because it's like they don't even see you. They just like they see you as this puppet, or like a a coin or a dollar of whatever you're gonna buy from them. And it's just so demoralizing, I think, to meet someone like that that you thought was this amazing person that you could connect with, and they don't give a shit. And every time I've messaged someone back, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you responded to me. And that to me, that's like, that's so wild that they wouldn't think that another human could respond. Like, I'm not better than you. I just happen to make music and have little numbers on my account. Like, that doesn't matter. I'm still me. And I think that's really important what you guys said about always staying connected.
Yeah, trying to undo the sentiment of never meet your heroes. Like, no, do meet your heroes. They're great. And Gwen, what I think is cool is you all have quite a unique approach to social media as well. Like, you're active on there as well, but there's like such a cool aesthetic behind everything on Frayle's page, and so many of the posts are quite artistic, I would say, and doing the autographs and the lyrics. So I'd love to hear a little more from your perspective on your approach.
Yeah, I think for us, everything has been DIY. We record our own music. We have a studio upstairs. Sean, who's also my husband as well as my bandmate, he is an amazing photographer and videographer, and he has like all this equipment, so we can really do all this stuff, so we do everything. For me, social media is interesting. I guess I have a different thought about it. Like, as far as like, if anybody texts me and they're being respectful, I will absolutely text them back, or, I want to make you comment on my photos, I'm definitely going to comment back. But I don't know, I guess I just don't have that, let my hair down thing, because I wish I did, but it's just, we have like this cache of photos that we can pull from. And so it's just very easy to put a photo on there and then just like a thoughtful, quick quip of, meaning behind it. And so for me, that's what our Instagram has become, kind of like a little philosophical shots of, like, here's a pretty photo, but also think about this. Here's a pretty photo, but here's something that's meaningful. How does this affect you? So yeah, I think, I think it's just two different ways of doing it. And I think both are super interesting. So
Yeah, I'm glad that you've brought this perspective to the table too, because I personally fall somewhere in the middle of, I want to showcase my human side, but I also have the boundaries of, this is technically like very public and business, and I want it to look proper. So there's definitely multiple ways to look at it, and there's no wrong way, and everyone has their own methods. So 100%. And Megan, you had mentioned how your boys were looking after you and fighting back to some of those comments. And that was something also I want to touch on, because as this is, of course, a female focused podcast, we want to highlight women. And I think the important thing to always clarify is that feminism is not anti-man. And in fact, they can be some of our best allies. They can be some of the most helpful people along the way sometimes. And all of us to some degree work with men, whether they're our band members, managers, publicists, whatever it may be. So I'd love to hear just like the supportive guys that are on your team and the helpful things that they have done to help push us forward too, because at the end of the day, I think it could be educational if there's any men watching, of like, here's what you can do to help support us towards all the goals that we were talking about in the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I am so lucky that my fiance is our drummer. We've been together for like 7 years now, and he's my best friend, and he's probably like the most I don't know how to put it, like, he's such a feminist. Sometimes he'll beat me to the punch. Like, he'll say, have you seen what like somebody's commented on Courtney from Spirit's Box Photo? And I'm like, no. And he'll send me a screenshot and he'll be like, what is wrong with these men? And it's just like, oh, I love you so much. So yeah, like, and before I go on about how much I love him and cringe everybody out, yeah, it's, I think sometimes they forget that they have a woman in their band, because we're so close knit and we're so just such good friends, first and foremost, that when stuff happens where we get misogynistic comments, or people are just rude or whatever, they're like, wait, Meg's one of the boys, like they kind of forget that, oh yeah, there's a woman here and people are gonna like judge her, and no, you're fucking not. Like, they become very protective, and it's really nice, because I've been in bands before in the past where people haven't had that respect, and they'll forget that there's a woman in the band, but for all the worst reasons, and I'm just second class to them. So it's really amazing having this team of people. Like, our manager is a man, loads of our manager at Napalm is a man, but there's never ever been an ounce of, would you consider wearing this, or would you consider doing that? It's always just been, what you think is best, do it. And I think just giving women the opportunity to be heard is probably the most respectful thing you can do. If a woman in the industry is asking you a question, just fucking listen to her. Or even if she's not asking, she's just talking, just listen to her. Because the amount of times where I've been in a room on tours with a bunch of blokes and I've started trying to give my opinion, and they've just turned away and not given a shit. Like, I remember I was at this show once and the whole sound system went down, and I was like, oh, this is what you need to do to fix it. Nobody would listen to me, and I said it about 10 times. Eventually it got fixed because they did the thing I told them to do, but one of them came up with the idea. It wasn't me. So I just think, just women just want to be heard and just be respected. And it sounds so simple and cliche and pathetic, but it really is that simple. It's not hard. You don't have to tiptoe around us and be careful about what you say. Just be normal. I don't understand how difficult it is for some people.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing, isn't it? Even when I was first starting out in this industry, it's like that fight for the credibility that you have, but making sure other people see it. And I remember I used to walk around with kind of like a very stoic, sort of angry face, because I was like, I just want people to know I'm serious, like, and I know what I'm doing. And if I look too happy or too excited to be there, will people question my word? And so 100%, just, we know what we're talking about. We know what we're doing too. Anyone else have something to chime in on that question about your fellow male counterparts?
I mean, I guess I think that maybe I've just been lucky, or perhaps I'm just blind to it and just in my own world. But I really haven't seen too much difference between how I'm treated and how the other guys in my band are treated. Again, it could just be sheer, I'm off the world and don't pay attention. But I've been really lucky that it's been very even keel and very similar, been treated very similar to everybody else. We have everybody in the band has been great. No special treatment there. Our manager, has been great. No special treatment there, but just everybody's equal. So I guess I've been, I really lucked out in that regard.
Love to hear that. And I hope that eventually becomes everyone's stories, every woman in metal, because that's how it should be. And something else that's been really like a common thing that I've noticed that I guess I hadn't really considered till I'd started this podcast was how women really bring something unique to the table when it comes to metal. Like, we have our own particular brand of angst and pain and sadness that makes metal visceral from our perspectives. And so I'd love to hear from you all, because I think all of you do it so well, of how femininity can expand the possibilities of the genre and why it's a necessity to explore that part of ourselves in our music. Because I know all of you really do a wonderful job capturing it. Lexi, it's been a minute since I've heard from you. Do you want to go for it?
All right, sure. Well, I wanted to touch on something that you and Megan were talking about with when you said, Tori, when you first started in this industry, that you had to have this like hard kind of look. And it's so sad that it seems like in order to get, again, that respect from the male community and the metal community, is we have to come off like maybe more hard than what we are, but
Yeah.
I think like the beautiful part about women is like we do have such a soft, vulnerable side, but then like you throw us in the ring and give us a fucking mic and we're angsty and we're in your face and we're screaming and belting and like, but again, like that's the beautiful part of women in general, or at least women in the metal community, that we can kind of do, both sides. So that was my take on that. And then I forgot your other question because I my
That was it. Just, I mean, really what we're bringing to the table that makes us unique. Because, I mean, even lyrically, they're your own perspectives. And yeah, I think that really covered it. Kristen?
I think something. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Megan, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
No,
I'm just
I was
trying to pick on
say...
people so no one like tries to talk over each other. It feels weird.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's quite interesting as well, like how other people see femininity. Like, for me, I've always really struggled to be a girly girl. Like, I love wearing makeup and having long hair, but I've always felt very uncomfortable showing my body. Not because like I feel like I shouldn't, because if I had the confidence, I would, but I don't have that confidence, so I don't. And I like wearing what would be deemed as very masculine looking clothes, and my hobbies are all what you would deem as very masculine. So I think it's quite interesting when people are shocked by how masculine we can be. And I think it's great making people realize that femininity and masculinity go hand in hand. Like, we are so much more than just dresses and talking nicely and having periods. There's so much more to us than that. And we can, like you were saying, Lexi, get a mic and fucking kill it just as good as the blokes, sometimes better. And I think that sometimes is the problem that we face, is that if we're not looking really pretty and we go on stage and we're wearing, for example, tracksuits and we're not showing anything, we haven't got makeup on, we've just got our hair tied up and we're just screaming into a microphone, we're not respected, because it's like, well, that's not a woman. Like, why is she not, full face of makeup? But then at the same time, if we do full face of makeup and feel confident in our bodies and show our bodies, it's, well, she's just using her body to get new fans. So I think redefining what femininity is really important. And for me, femininity is embracing my masculinity and showing that I can be both at the same time. But that's my rant.
Yeah.
I'll stop talking for a while.
I agree with everything you just said. And I just, I'm so for that. I feel like, we all have like divine feminine and we all have divine masculine. And I think some of us lean maybe more feminine or more masculine, but everybody is, both of those. So I love seeing, the women really, harp on that divine masculine. And I think it really is surprising to a lot of the male community, and especially in the metal scene right now, maybe they're new to it. Like, oh, she screams. Well, what's this? I thought guys just do this. You know what I mean? So again, it just goes back to what we keep talking about, like that woman empowerment. And I think the louder we are and the more aggressive we are and we're making our voice heard, I think that is where we will gain respect in the future.
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that divine feminine, divine masculine, because you took the words out of my brain, 100%. And for the record, Megan, I love your style. So if anyone has anything to say, just bring them to me. I'll handle it.
But sorry, I completely hijacked your go, Christine. Sorry.
Oh, no. I mean, I agree with you guys too. I mean, I love being able to be on that far end of the spectrum of being super feminine at one point and seeing something super soft or dress in a nice dress or something, and then be in like pants and boots and spikes and screaming. Like, there's something so awesome about that, and not being afraid to go to those ends of the spectrum. And I know men are starting to be able to embrace their feminine side, but a lot of them are still so scared of it. They're like, if I do that, then I won't be perceived as masculine. And they're just so afraid of it. And I think it's cool that we're like, hell no, I'm going to do whatever I want and fuck you. Like, I think it's so cool.
Hell yes.
Fully. I definitely had a phase where I was doing like obstacle course races because I was like, I just want people to see what I got. And I would just get covered in mud and like, you know, the whole bit. And it was like that moment of really embracing the masculine and embracing that. And then the next day I'll be like in a dress. And there's something cool about that. And even with you, Gwen and Frayle, like your voice is so ethereal in the music, and yet it is so heavy as well. So I think even just musically, that's captured really well too.
Yeah, I think for me, my femininity is about trying to scare the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but like in a scary kind of witch who lives in the woods, mother of crows, caller of winds kind of way. So that's how I embrace both my feminine and masculine, because I do feel like my personality is more masculine. I'm quite aggressive. I don't take a lot of bullshit. So that part of me is, I guess, more masculine. But you know, as far as, you know, I love all the girly stuff too, but I want to do it in a way that's not Barbie-esque, although I haven't seen that movie, but I've heard it's fantastic. But I just want to do it like as a villainess.
I did get the vibe that if this interview went really poorly, I was gonna end up cursed by you. So you're doing a good job. I was like, there's gonna be some kind of hex on me if this goes terribly. I'm mostly kidding, but yeah, definitely the vibe is very powerful, and the way you are on stage, 100%. Yeah. And I did want to just touch on this because it's sort of the hot topic right now, so it felt timely. And I don't know if anyone's gonna have any hot takes on this or not, but we were seeing it. You actually mentioned, Megan, Spirit Box, and there have been some bands with similar things of getting called an industry plant is like the new way of totally discrediting and insulting women in the industry. Is like, okay, well, if they're super talented and doing really well and crushing it, the only possible thing left is that they're an industry plant, because we have no other way of dissing them. So I don't know if anyone has a take on why you all think this is a current thing, and any sort of way of debunking that real quick. I know none of us have, from what I've seen, that hasn't happened to any of you personally, but I don't know if anyone's keeping up on the news at all with that.
I
I
think,
haven't.
oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, you go for it.
I think that actually happened to us at the very beginning, like when we first released the EP.
No way.
Someone was like, this seems like an industry plan, it's too polished or something. And like, this is doom. Like, no one's gonna do an industry plant in doom. No one's gonna. So to me, it was just kind of funny. But I think it's just a way of discrediting and belittling, and try to figure out, you know, try to put it out there publicly that they are actually trying to figure out how this person or how this band could have gotten the amount of attention that it has. But I think it's just a way of bullying. You know, it's a way of bullying somebody. So whatever, it's just that stuff rolls off my back. Who cares, right?
I mean, I suppose, like, now that I think about it, it's sort of the weirdest way of backhanded complimenting someone, because if you're an industry plant, that means you're really freaking good. And it seems like you must have a lot of money and power behind you. So, I mean, it's not a compliment, like, it's because you will put in the work yourself and you deserve that credit. But yeah, that's a strange one. Didn't know that happened to you.
Isn't that sad though? People are discrediting, you know, certain bands because they actually have their fucking shit together and they're badass and good. So it's like, oh, should I come out with my shit not together so I can be credited? Like, it's the biggest oxymoron. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I suppose the latest one was Scowl as well. We've been seeing it with them, and I'm like, they're just amazing. And they're in hardcore, like hardcore industry plant. I don't know if that's a thing. Anyone else have anything to say, or we could just keep moving along?
I would say that excuse or that conversation piece is very similar to the way people talk about, oh, she's only popular because she's showing her body. Like, it has a very similar feel to me. They're like, they're just trying to write it off in any way possible and just reaching to whatever direction they can just to dismiss you and make you not as important in their minds because maybe they're scared of you or they don't like women being in their scene or something like that. It feels like it's coming from a place of fear, if I had to say something about it.
Yeah, no, fully. And the last bit of this interview ends the way we end every She's with the Band episode, which is our most jaw-dropping segment. So since there are 4 of you, we'll kind of go a little rapid fire, right? I would love for each of you to give like your answer on them. There are 4 questions of some of the most jaw-dropping things, whether it's in your career or experiences you've had. Everyone ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't want to get tumbleweed brain.
Right?
I know.
I
Well,
think we're
okay,
all
so
gonna
everyone
get
let
like
Megan
that.
go last so she doesn't get tumbleweed brain. Our first one here is, what is the most jaw-dropping experience you've ever had at a show? Could be one of yours or could be one you've just been to as a concert goer.
Oh,
Good or
okay.
bad?
Oh, either way. Jaw-dropping could go either way.
Okay, so at my last show, we were having major technical difficulties with sound. Just the venue was just not really equipped for the sound that I kind of was hoping for. And my in-ears were giving me an issue, but I get on stage, intro starts, I'm about ready to play. I start singing and like my in-ears, I'm just getting the worst fucking feedback. And this has never happened to me. And I'm like, fuck, I have to rip these out of my ear right now. And I'm just going to have to go balls to the wall and hope that I can hear to myself and just sound fucking good and pray to Satan. And I just ripped my fucking in-ears out. I threw them on the floor and I just did like a whole 45-minute set. And it was great. And we had a great crowd. But yeah, that was definitely, that was a moment that was kind of like, fuck.
And those are the moments that must test you as a performer as well, of being able to think on the fly and just adapt to anything.
Oh yeah, and like I couldn't show it in my face either. I'm like, because everyone's like, into it, and it's our first song we're playing, and the boys are jamming out, and I'm like, all right, let's just go, keep it going, go.
And that's always the worst part. No one in the crowd knows that anything is wrong most of the time, unless it's really bad.
Yeah, but again, it's like you said, like you just got to keep rolling with the show and just don't try to. I couldn't stop and be like, hey, can you fix my in-ears? No, fuck that. I gotta just keep going. So that was my moment.
One for me was, I was playing a show and this guy had driven down from another state just to go to the show. And I was like, really? That's crazy, but awesome. And he decided to stage dive and nobody caught him. So he landed headfirst onto the concrete floor and he was like, I'm pretty sure he had a concussion. And then he decided to do it again. So he fell again. No one caught him again. And after the show, I'm at the merch table and he comes up to me and he's bloody. Like there's blood going down his face. There's blood on his mouth. And I was like, why are you still here? But he was so drunk. And he's like, I had such a great time. I'm like, sir, you need to go to the hospital. Like there's so much blood. But he was so happy. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
I feel like by the second time, that's on him though, because it's like, you didn't learn your lesson the first time. But I hope he's okay. If you're watching this and you're out there, I hope you're okay.
That's a true fan, man.
Wow. Megan? Gwen?
Ooh, I think I'll pick going to a show. We went to go see Trivium play in London a few months ago, and Matt Heafy shouted out our band, and I could have just like myself right then and there. Like I could have pooped myself. I was so like not expecting him to shout us out that I went full fangirl. I think I squealed and I was just like, oh my God, he knows who we are. And we were just in the crowd there watching, like having a good time. I think that was the most jaw-dropping moment where I was like, oh my God, somebody like him knows who I am. Like things must be going well. And I think that's really cool as well that we can still get moments like that, because touring and stuff, you obviously meet a lot of well-known people all the time. But when one of them who is a hero and they actually recognize you and they're not a douche, it's so, that'll never get old. It's so cool. So yeah, that would be my one.
Oh, I love that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been, I feel like I've had a lot of these experiences, except for the bloody guy doing I never had that. But yeah, like because I sing so softly, it's very difficult. And so like there's been many times where I'm kind of like, okay, well, I guess we just forego the ears and just do what I can. And it's difficult, but you know, you get through it. And like you said, at the end you feel kind of a lot more powerful, and you feel like, okay, I did that. I fucking did that. So, but like you said, nobody in the audience knows. So it's kind of a weird spot to be in, because you're like, I did that, and everybody's like, okay.
You're like, oh, you sang your songs the way you were supposed to. Good job. Fully. And the next one we have here is the most jaw-dropping misstep early in your career and the lesson that you learned from it. Ask this question more so that, you know, if anyone's watching this for educational purposes, we all learn from each other a little bit too.
I would say take your time when signing anything. It seems so obvious, but there was a very, very small record label that wanted to sign us within a month of us like announcing the band, and we were so excited, and we were like, yes, we've got to do this. And I took the contract to a lot of friends, and I spent about 2 weeks, I think, like mulling it over, and this guy was pressurizing us. He was like, sign it now, come on, sign it, come on, we'll get you really famous, come on. And luckily we didn't sign it, because the whole like label fell through, and it turns out he'd screwed over loads of other bands before and cheated bands out of money. So I think with anything, there's no time frame. Like, nobody should be pressurizing you into a time frame of signing anything. Take your time. If you're worth somebody's you know, if somebody wants to sign you, make them wait for it. I think, you know, just take your time with things. You're worth more than having to sign a piece of paper in 5 minutes. Make them wait months, you know. So,
I mean, you know, it's a bad sign too if there's that much pressure to sign it so quickly. Like they knew there was something wrong with that contract.
Yeah, so it sounds really obvious, but you know, when you're young and you're starting out and you think, oh my god, somebody wants to sign us, and it sounds really exciting, just take a minute and yeah, think about it, because god, we could have been in a really shit situation.
I'm glad you did not. And who's next?
Oh, and I would say, just to jump on that, it's the same with like booking promoters or tour manager kind of things. We almost signed on to a tour where the guy ended up being a meth head, and he stole everyone's money, and the tour got canceled. It was just such a mess. Luckily, we didn't actually pay him anything yet, but I felt sorry for the headlining band. They got screwed over for like, it was like 2 months of tour, and I'm just like, that's so scary. And I've seen it happen again and again in my local scene, where there's a lot of just really shady people that are trying to prey on like smaller bands that don't have experience with that. It's scary.
Yeah. Wow.
I'll piggyback that. Yeah. I don't know if I've had like necessarily any like mishaps, or I don't know. I think it just goes back to like what the girls were saying, like just take your time and like be patient. And I just feel like it's like, trust your intuition. Like, you really got to go with like your gut feeling, what feels right. And yeah, like not being pressured into anything. Like, when I first moved to LA, I had 5 managers in 2 months. And maybe that was my mishap. Probably we'll just go with that. And after that, I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. Like, everybody just like wants to rebrand me the way they want to, and it's not the way that I want. And like, I even had one manager at one time, he's like, I really would like you to be more pop, because your vocals could be very pop. And I'm just like, no. So yeah, I think it's just like, be patient, like be true to yourself, and just go with what feels right, and don't feel pressured.
Intuition's everything.
Yes.
Gwen?
I think for our first EP, like when it first came out, we didn't really expect anything to happen with it, but it kind of blew up pretty quickly. We had a record deal within a couple of days. Luckily, our record deal was with a very reputable company, Laybear, in the Netherlands, and we love Desiree. But we were signed. The albums came out within 6 months. She wanted to put us on festivals, 2 festivals in Europe. And of course, I mean, who's going to say no to that, right? It was just so exciting, and this is kind of what you want to do. But I had, like, this is my first band ever. This is my first time singing ever. And I was super nervous. You know, I'd never done this before. I don't do well with public speaking or anything like that. So it was very intimidating for me. But so Sean was like, okay, well, we'll book a couple of local things. We'll open on like a Tuesday night for somebody local. We'll just kind of get your sea legs kind of thing. It's like, okay. So Sean comes back. He's like, well, we have a show, but we're headlining on a Saturday. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I've never seen and you know, you're throwing me to the wolves kind of thing. So I feel like, and so we did a couple of those shows, but then, you know, we did the festivals and I sucked. I'll just be honest. I sucked because I was so nervous and scared. And so I think my take on that is to, again, don't let anybody pressure you, even though it might be the thing that you really want to do. You know, if you're not ready, then don't do it.
Wow. And you've come a long way since then now. Now you are quite the goddess on stage. But yeah, I guess sometimes it takes time. And next we have most jaw-dropping female artists that you would love to work with.
Ooh.
For me, it would be Ashniko. I don't know if you guys know Ashniko. Yeah, I would die to work with Ashniko. She's like my favorite artist at the moment and has been for quite a while. And I think the crossover of her like rappy pop kind of crazy genre with really, really heavy metal would be really cool. So for me, it would be Ashniko.
I do love hearing those like genre crossover answers because that's happening so much more and more and more in metal lately as well, that it's like, well, anything goes. So for the rest of you three who want to answer too, anything goes.
Wait, what?
Oh, go ahead. You're good.
Oh, okay. You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys are so polite. I love it.
You know, we're all just here, you know. For me, I think I have two. Because I think the little girl inside me, and still the woman to this day, Amy Lee from Evanescence, like she's just everything. I would kill to work with her. And I think Tati from Ginger, she's just such a little powerhouse and just seems like such a fun spirit to be around. Like I'd love to just kind of cross with her for sure.
Love her as well.
She is awesome. I would say for me, if I had to just pick one, it would be Halsey. I think she's really cool. I love her visuals. She's already worked with Trent Reznor on some of her later stuff. And I've followed her since the beginning. And I think she has a very unique voice. I love that she has a vision for her project. And she looks really cool.
Yeah. Ever since that album with Trent and Atticus, I'm like, okay, so she's got a bit of a metal side in her. I could see it. Yeah.
For me, I guess I think I'm going to be boring and just stay in genre and say like Chelsea Wolfe. I always love what she does. So it would be amazing to work with her, or Emma Ruth Rundle, both voices and musicians that I really respect.
Oh, that would be a dream collaboration to see. Blood Moon was one of my favorite albums, probably in my top 10 now. So that would be a perfect fit.
For sure.
And also, if I had $1 for every time Chelsea Wolfe has been mentioned on this podcast, I'd be so rich. I've talked everyone's ear off about her. So yeah, great answer. And last one, most jaw-dropping misconception about you that you wish people understood. Could be about you or about the band as a whole, whichever makes more sense.
I think. Go ahead.
For me, I think because of how angry and aggressive our music is, people think that I'm like that in real life. I watch a lot of I'll watch some of our like reaction videos and stuff on YouTube that people have filmed, and people are always like, oh my god, she's so scary, you wouldn't want to cross her. And I'm like, I'm really boring. I'm actually really a homebody and like to just drink tea and be on my farm with my animals. There's nothing scary about me whatsoever. So yeah, I think people, I mean, it's kind of cool, I suppose, that people think I'm like this really aggressive, scary front woman. But the reality is I'm just really not that in the slightest. I'm very much a cup of tea and a book kind of girl. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, in the most loving way possible, when I saw the anti-fetish video, I was like, whoa, oh my.
Yeah.
But like in a great way where I was like, oh shit, she is fierce. So it is really cool to see the juxtaposition though of how you can come off in the videos and how you come off in the music, and then in front, like, I mean, it's just that duality again, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
think also for me, I don't know if it's like this for the rest of you, but what I'm not able to do in my real life, I put into music. So like I'm not very confident in real life, and I'm not aggressive. I'm quite passive and I'm quiet. So when I get behind a microphone, I become like this. I'm very confident and I'm angry and I'm fierce because I'm just not that in real life. So it's yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, alter ego, superpower, whatever you want to call it.
Really.
Yeah, I can piggyback the beginning of what you said, Megan, with the whole like, oh, you come off scary, or like the amount of people I've met in person, and yeah, the amount of people I've met in person, tumbleweed brain, that are like, oh my God, you're actually really nice, and I'm like, what? Like, why would you not think I am? And they're like, oh, well, like, the tattoos and the singing and the, your pictures, and I'm like, no, I'm like the most humble, sweetest person. Like, I can chew someone's ear off for like 3 hours, and I'm just always so bubbly and happy. And like, I kind of hate that misconception though, because it's like, why do you think that I'm not nice? Why do you think that I'm not somebody that you can walk up to and just say hi? Like, I'm not gonna bite you. I'm gonna say hi back. Say thanks for listening to my.
It's like, as a whole, like, strong woman doesn't mean mean woman. Like, I don't, there definitely is that thing, because it's happened time and time again on this podcast where it's similar answers to that. And it's like, how are we equating those two things together? Like, we're nice people. We're strong and we're fierce. That's all.
It's like what you were saying before, like, oh, I have to come off like hard as stone. And it's like, to get that respect, it literally just goes all back to that common denominator that we've been talking about this whole podcast, is like, we're like fighting for our right, to be seen. And that means, I guess, we have to try a little harder or come off a little bit more aggressive. And like, it's maintaining that, like, are we too feminine or are we too masculine? It's like finding that balance, which I think is, I don't know if you girls can agree, but that's like always the biggest struggle for me, is like, I don't want to be too sexy, but like I am really confident in like how I feel as a woman and my body. And like sometimes I do like to wear like, latex and a tight, vinyl dress because I want to, and it makes me feel confident, makes me feel good. But then I'm looked at as like, oh, she's a slut, but she can sing. So like, okay, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so stupid, like what people just make up in their minds about us,
Fully. I mean, there's nothing even to comment on that except thank you, really.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to wear latex and vinyl on my behalf, please do, because I don't have the confidence to do it, but I would love to. So all the more vinyl and latex.
And also, latex is just too much work. I don't have to like oil myself up before getting into my dress. It looks amazing though.
It's a lot of work, but there is something about being in like a latex, bodysuit or something it's very empowering. I think everybody should go get latex and wear it if you haven't yet.
Well, you look amazing in it. You are rocking it.
Thank you.
It's so funny. I feel like I have the opposite problem of you guys on social media. In real life, I have the same problem of people think I'm scary and mean, but for some reason on socials, they're like, you're so cute and angelic and small. I'm like, I am 5'8". I am not little, first of all. And like I start screaming, and I don't have tattoos, or I don't have like, I don't know. I don't look very alternative. And sometimes I'm like, oh, should I? But then I'm like, I don't want to get it just because people pressure me to. But it's like whenever I start screaming, they're like, oh, I did not expect that from you. You look like Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls.
I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised the first time I went on your Instagram and heard your voice. I went, whoa, okay, wow. But yeah, like you do have a very soft-spoken voice. So sometimes when you start your reels, you're just like, hey guys, I'm gonna sing a song for you. And then it's like in the best way. It's awesome. And Gwen?
I guess it's just the same thing. I think people, think that I'm could be mean or evil or whatever, but realistically it's the same thing, right? It's like you leave your feelings on the tip of a pen, and that's cathartic. You go, you sing, you put it all out there, and then so that you can go home and drink your tea and read your book and be the most boring person ever with your 3 cats and just never leave your house. So yeah.
3 cats.
That's a mood. That's a mood.
That is a mood.
I love that.
Well, last but not least, I want to make sure that everyone gets proper love on your releases that we deserve. Any tours or any events, anything you want to drop, like it's almost like at the end of a Hot Ones episode where, okay, you've made it through all the wings. Now give us your plug. So I don't know who wants to go first here. Lexi, since you just released your single, do you want to mention it one more time and then we'll just make our way around?
Yes, this is Lexi Layne. My new single, Serpent, is streaming on all musical platforms right now. The music video is out on YouTube. Go stream it, run it up, and thank you for your support.
And watch her hold a snake.
Yes, that too.
Megan? Just rolling the dice here.
So go check out my band Vexed. We're doing a UK headline tour, so if you're in the UK, come see us play. But yeah, we dropped an album called Negative Energy this year. A visualizer for one of the singles just came out, so go look at Lay Down Your Flowers featuring Lockie from Alpha Wolf, and yeah, thank you for your support as well.
And what's Frayle got going on?
Well, we are working on an album right now, Heretic. We've got a lot of things kind of up in the air right now. So once everything kind of comes down and settles, we'll know more where that's going to live. But we've got a couple of shows coming up. We have one October 20th at the Foundry here in Lakewood. And then we're actually doing this really cool thing at the most haunted house in Cleveland, Franklin Castle. So we're going to do like this really special show. It's going to be acoustic, and it's only going to be like for 40 or 50 people. So it should be really sweet. And that's going to be, I think, the 21st.
That sounds incredible. Wish I could be there.
It'll be really cool.
Yeah. And what about Daedric? What's up next?
We just released our debut album and we're just promoting the hell out of that. So I want to just dig into that. But I do want to say, it's funny, I just went to Ohio and now I want to go back to see your show. That's cool.
Come to the haunted house one. That'll be fun.
Nice and spooky for the spooky season, even though it's always spooky season with Frayle, which is why I love you all. Cool. Well, that is it. Thank you all so much for your time. This has been honestly one of the coolest conversations I've had on this podcast, and I'm honored that 4 artists I love with all my heart are all in one place. This has been really special. So thank you all for being here, and everybody who's been watching, make sure you stay tuned here on notfest.com. There are new episodes of She's with the Band every other week. You can subscribe, follow us at SWTB Pod on socials, and we'll catch you next time. See you all.